record, and I'll hand over to you, Paul, and
Okay,
answer all the
thanks, Declan.
questions. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out to join the Zoom meeting this morning. I know there's plenty of other things you could be doing at this stage on a Saturday morning, but look, I'm hopeful, and I'm sure that it'll pay dividends at the end of the day. So what I propose to do is to run back through the structure of the project, and then what we will do is we'll have a chance then at the end to have a quick talk to everyone, and we'll use this as a kind of a group session as well, think tank. So if there are any issues that are concerning you at the moment, or anything you feel you need a bit of assistance with, support with, as a group we'll try and do that. And I think the more people that are here this morning, the better the outcomes, I think, at the end of the day, in terms of suggestions, recommendations, or just thoughts in general. Is that okay? Yeah. 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 You've all done your you sent me in your topic, and I think I've come back to you all at this stage just with maybe the go ahead and maybe a couple of comments, which hopefully are a bit helpful. So what we'll do is I'll go through, because the first day we were here, it was kind of it was all compressed really into I suppose it was 45 minutes. So we go through it in a little bit more detail, and hopefully it'll make a bit more sense to you at the end of the day. So what we're talking about just the structure of the project, and I'm looking at. I said to you there's a structure to this. There are different sections to it that you must have included in your project, and I gave you. It was on the first thing that Declan had emailed. It was different sections to the project, and it was number one was rationale. Now I did say before that you've 6,000 words here, so it's a lot of words. So the more kind of stuff you can get to put down, obviously the better for your word count, if nothing else. So I did suggest that the first thing you should do is give me some sort of a background to your organization. Okay, so that can take half a page, let's say, even up to a page max. That's enough. I remember someone sent me a project once, and I think the first 5 or 6 pages were all about the background. So it was all kind of just lifted from the website, and there's a bit too much detail in it. So what I would like to say is your first thing, just background to the organization. Just call it that if you like. And as I say, a lot of that information will be contained on your website. You would have the history of the organization, the main players, if you like, in the organization. Sometimes even if you want to put in some sort of a kind of organizational chart, it's up to you. It's not necessary. And sometimes even your own kind of department, there could be an organizational chart where you actually sit within the credit department. It could also include most organizations now will have mission statements. And most importantly, in that, I want you to include your role within the organization. What you do, who you report to. Yeah, just a couple of sentences, nothing major. Again, it gives me a sense of what the organization is about, your position, and it kind of sets the thing off nicely, the project off nicely. The project, if you think it as a story, is really what it is. Okay, so it has a start, it has a middle part, and it has an ending. That's your conclusion. So your start is your kind of your rationale, if you like, and the stuff in between is how you go about investigating the issue or the problem, wherever it might be. Okay, and then the end is your conclusion and analysis and evaluation, if you like. So, and it's important again. I think this was in one of the handouts I sent you about it should flow like a story. And from the reader, from my perspective, I'd like to get a project that I can read, that there's a kind of a thread to, that's a form to, that kind of flows, if you like. That's terribly important. And that is always reflected in the market as well, to be honest with you. Now, I know people will kind of jump in and jump out of the project. So you might do a section today, you might do another bit, but when you're putting it all together, just make it flow if you can. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Next thing then you could have was your acknowledgement. So basically what this is, so this is after your background. The next thing will be acknowledgements. You can include this if you like. It's not necessary, but again, it can fill out a few words. And what it is, you're thanking those who helped you along with your project. So that could be the people, your colleagues, could be your boss, who might have helped you. It could be the organization in general who gave you access to information you wouldn't normally have. It could be to the people that you've interviewed, your interviewees. So those type of people that you want to acknowledge. It could be to the babysitter who would maybe minded the kids. You took an hour or two break, whatever, working on your project. So whoever you feel, it's a very personal thing. It's nice. It's nice at the end of the day to kind of say thank you to people who've helped you on the journey, let's say. Okay. So the first part then is your rationale. I've sent you some notes on the rationale slides, rather. I've another lot of slides I'm going to send you on Monday about the next section of the project. And then there's a third set of slides or notes that I send you in about a month's time. So it's kind of your presentation, how you reference properly, that kind of thing, about evaluation as well, which we'll come to now in a couple of minutes. So your rationale is your first part. This is the important bit. And basically what it is, it's the reason for picking this particular topic. So you must have a reason for picking it. Maybe it was something that was always there that was causing issues, problems in the department that you've never had time to kind of sit down and have a good think about it. Or it might be some new innovation that you can bring into the department that would make your job easier. It could be a credit policy that you write up. It could be, there might be systems failures within the organization. And I know someone was talking about issues regarding rates and stuff like that, billing and stuff, So there's obviously an issue there that needs to be sorted, and now is your opportunity to spend some time to investigate what is going on, who are the people responsible for it, and what can we do to avoid this in the future, and how is it going to save us money, and again, quantify the problem if you can. The one thing, again, I stress about this type of project, and you're looking for data. You're looking for quantitative data, okay? There's two types of data. There's quantitative data and there's qualitative data. Quantitative data is all about figures. Now, our background here is in finance, so we're interested in figures, quantitative data. And it's something that you can readily put in a table form, put on a graph form. So quantitative data is what we want. Qualitative data is more kind of touchy-feely, sensitive data. So it's kind of how do you feel your credit application was processed, this sort of stuff. It's not really what we're interested in, but having said that, you can always turn qualitative data into quantitative data. And in the notes, it'll explain briefly how you go about that. Okay, I'm not going to go into it now, but it's quite easy to understand and it's quite well explained in the notes that I'll send you. I'm not sure if I've already sent you those ones. Anyway, if not, you'll get them in the next couple of days. So your rationale is your reason for picking this topic. Your rationale would normally be about a page and a half, 2 pages. Okay, so your reason for picking the topic, identify the problem or the issue. What outcomes do you hope to achieve? And how do you propose to go about that? That's your rationale. And I think the form that you fill out, kind of, there are trigger questions in that. And, you know, you've all sent that back to me. So the stuff is all actually in there. It's just a matter of actually filling in the answers and putting it on paper. So we're okay with rationale, yeah? Yep, okay. The next section is investigation stage 1. Okay, and your strategy. Your strategy means you have to select methods that will give you the best possible outcome. So that can be if you want to do an interview, if you want to do a survey, a questionnaire. So we mentioned before as well, there are 2 types of that data information that we're looking for. There's primary source, which is the source that you yourself would gain through your interviews, through your survey, your questionnaire, or whatever. So that's a personal kind of a thing, your primary source of data. That's you, what you do, what you investigate. And then the secondary. The secondary is you look at the internet for maybe some articles, you look at journals, books, anything at all. So it's actually stuff that's already out there. And you can bring that into your project, that's fine, no issue with that whatsoever. You can quote ad verbatim an article that you picked up somewhere, either on the internet or in the credit management. I mentioned before, sorry as well, while I think of it, there is a credit management journal. I get it here every month, okay? And it's done by the Chartered Institute of Credit Management in the UK. And you can actually go onto their website and there's stuff there. Someone got one? Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to say, it is a very good read. The amount of stuff was on warehousing debt and stuff like that over the last while has been brilliant.
Yeah,
so,
and look at the website as well. There's stuff there now. Some of it might be restricted to members areas, but I think in general there's probably stuff there you can pick up. And what I've done, I've gone through the last couple of journals that I have here just to see is there anything that's relevant to your project. And I picked up a few. I'll send them on to you. Okay, I'll actually when I'm sending notes on Monday, I'll send these. I'll scan these particular articles and I'll send them. And if you feel they're useful, well and good. But that is one particular journal that's well worth kind of looking at. And again, look at the website. So again, that's a secondary type of investigation, okay, as opposed to primary. Primary is you. So if you're recording information, record it in forms that are useful. So you're looking for figures most of the time if you can. Just something that you can translate at a later stage into some sort of graphical form, okay? I mentioned trigger questions to focus your investigation. What are we trying to achieve? What are we doing in the department that's useful, that's good? What are opposition doing? What could we be doing better? Those are the type of things that gets you kind of really focused into the nub of the problem or the issue. So just be aware of those. When you're quoting secondary sources of information, it's terribly important that you give credit to the person or to whatever you're taking the information from, okay? So record, okay, credit management journal, August 2024, what page it was on. That's terribly important when you come to your bibliography at the end. You have to record all these where you've got your information from. If it's a website, whatever, you know, that's the secondary sources of information. And again, as I said, there's no issue there with recording or giving back something that you've read, the information ad verbatim. I've no issue with that, but you must give credit to the person that you're quoting. this is all to do with the plagiarism. And again, I think I sent you something on plagiarism. So, you know, plagiarism basically is passing someone else's work off as your own. There's no problem with passing someone else's work off, but give them credit. Okay, so we're still on investigation stage 1. Oh, there are types of questions. Again, if you're doing a questionnaire or if you're doing an interview with someone, there are 2 types of questions. There's open questions and there's closed questions. So open question would be where, and this would apply to interview as well, where you ask someone just to basically have a chat with them. You've no pre-recorded kind of questions that you want to ask them. It's an open interview, or it could be an open question you might be asking someone. Open questions would be more qualitative data, but again, as I said, you can always transfer that back into quantitative data, and I've explained that in the notes that I'm sending you on Monday. I think it is. Interviewing, you could have closed questions, so you might have, say, 10 questions that you want to ask the interviewee, and it might be no harm to give them those questions in advance if you're going to interview someone. So give them and say, this is what I'd like to interview about. These are the questions. Gives them time to get their head around it and, you know, give you proper answers. And, you know, and the other type of interview would be an open interview where you just talk to someone and you just say, you know, tell us about your position in the organization and what are the good points and what are the bad points. So it's just an open kind of chat. If you're doing that type of thing, you might be no harm in asking the person that you're interviewing, is it okay to record it? They might have an issue with it, they might not. Mostly I wouldn't need to have. But it's handy for you when you're going back then, because you're translating that then into your project. And as I say, you can put that in ad verbatim. So there's probably loads of words and loads of kind of you know, stuff there that you can use to, if you like, to fill up the 6,000 words that you have. So we've mentioned survey. If you're doing a survey, it's important to get as many people as you can into the survey. It lends value to it and adds weight to it. Whereas if you have 3 or 4 people in the survey, it doesn't really, you know, carry much weight. It's not big enough audience, if you like. So when you're thinking about surveying someone, again, it depends on what you're surveying them about. You might ask, what was I going to say there? You might ask your colleagues in the department. You might ask your peers, might be other credit controllers out there that you know of, and use your fellow students. You can use Declan, you can use me, and you can use, you know, your fellow students who are here today as well. So just try and make the audience as big as you can. I think 10 or more would be, you know, sufficient. If you get more than that, great. But less than 10, it doesn't really tell you an awful lot. But that's investigation stage 1. I think we've gone through all of that. Investigation stage 2. This is the next section of the project. So this is data handling. So this is all about presenting your results. So you're presenting your results in an appropriate form, what we say here, okay? And usually that means a linear kind of a graph, which is the one that kind of, if you want to show a trend and something over time, linear graph is normally the one that you would use. You can use bar charts, you can use pie charts, you can use a combination of all if you like. There are other types of things. If you want to go into them, scattergrams and stuff like that, I don't think they're really necessary. But if you feel free, I normally stick to just the 3 kind of basic ones. So that's linear graph, bar charts, and pie charts. Okay, so this is what we're doing here is we're communicating the value of your findings, your investigation. It's important if you're doing graphs or tables or anything like that, that you number them and title them. Okay, terribly important. A number and a title on each graph. So each graph you start number 1, next graph number 2, whatever else, and put a title on it, and put it very close to the text. Okay, so again, what I'm talking about, the flow of the actual project. I want to read the text. The text is telling me about the DSO, the improvement of DSO, or whatever it might be, okay? And then I'm seeing the graph. So that's what I'd like to see. The text is right beside it, so it's flowing, it's making sense to me. I'm not reading the text and then going 2 or 3 pages further on to actually see the graph. It all fits in nicely together, okay? Okay, I mentioned even if you're using a graph or something that is secondary information and a source of information, and that's quite fine, just make sure that you quote the source, terribly important. I mentioned about discussing the topic before the graph, okay? Again, I've written down here, the project must flow like a story. Has a start, has a middle section, and has an ending. Hopefully a happy one. And again, this is where you would put your interview. If you've done an interview, this is where you would put the content of the interview. And as I say, that can be adverb-bad, and it can be quite kind of, you know, long if it's kind of an open interview, or even if you have specific questions, you know, you can use up a lot of words there. You know, particularly if you have someone who's quite talkative. So feel free to put it all down, adverbatim, and obviously put the name of the person and the position of the interviewee. That's how they work. And we're done on to conclusion and analysis, the next section. Okay, and basically what we're saying here is, you know, what does your investigation suggest? What, you know, and there might be several outcomes here. Okay, it might suggest several things. It might just be one thing. And the other thing I stressed previously is, you might find when you've done your conclusion and analysis that, do you know what? Maybe what you taught at the very start is completely turned upside down. That's, you know, there's no right or wrong answer here. The marks are given for the effort and the quality in the project. So if you find at the end of the day that, no, actually, you know, getting another person into the department is not going to solve the issue. The issue isn't that we're understaffed. It might be something else when you've gone through your investigation. The issue is that, you know, the same people are making the same stupid mistakes all the time or whatever, and we're spending more time correcting stuff than actually, you know, collecting money, what we should be doing, what we're tasked to do. So there's no right or wrong answer here. So don't be concerned if you find that after you've done all your work that your thoughts are kind of completely kind of out of kilter or whatever. That's fine. Identify, as I said, there could be more than one option here. There might be several options. Identify the options that have a chance of succeeding if it's an issue or a problem. Reach well-informed, balanced, and unbiased outcomes. And again, that word unbiased, everything has to be unbiased. And when you're doing your interview and when you're doing your survey, your questions have to be totally unbiased. No leading questions is what we say, okay? So you're not leading someone into giving you the answer that you yourself want. You have to be totally unbiased. That's one of the golden rules. I think that's right. There's some common errors there that I have in conclusions and analysis, and again, they're in the notes I sent you. It's in the slides actually. So yeah, I won't go into them now, but there are several things just to be aware of, common errors. And then we're on to evaluation, and this is the last written part of the project, apart from the bibliography. Okay, evaluation is it's a more personal commentary on how your project has gone on your journey from start to finish. So looking, and again, everything here is in hindsight. So looking back in hindsight, you're asking the questions, did I pick the proper investigation method? Should I have done a survey? Should I have interviewed someone else? That's the type of thing you're looking at here. And maybe you're happy with it, and put that down as well. You know, it's just a commentary on how you found the journey of the project on your investigation. what factors influenced your project, positive or negative. You know, you're more than likely trying to resolve an issue, which is a problem. Or it could be something very positive. It might be something that you're bringing to the department, or bringing, you know, some sort of new technology or something like that. So it's, yeah, it can be positive or negative. In evaluation as well, sometimes you come across in your journey or in your investigation, you've since discovered that there's something else there needs to be investigated, but obviously you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, or you know, it's for another day if you like. So if you do come across something else, another issue that needs to be investigated, mention it there, and mention how that might be investigated or how that might be resolved at a later date. How was your access to information? You know, did you get support from, you know, your colleagues, your boss, your managers, whatever? Did they give you access to information? Was it restricted to a certain degree? You know, comment on stuff like that. This is all a kind of personal opinion. And basically what we're asking is, how do you think it went? You know, that's just a very simple question. How do you think your project went? Were you happy with it? Unhappy with it? Did you run out of time? Was it a bigger issue than you thought at the start? If you had the chance to do it all again, you know, what would you do differently? Those sort of things. Presentation. They're the areas, they're the sections that you must have in your project. I'll say the conclusion and analysis, and then after that you have your bibliography. And again, there's a handout on that. That's in the last, contained in the last slide, a lot of slides, which I'll send out probably in about 4 weeks' time. Your presentation. I sent you something on project writing, and again, it's to do with grammar. It's to do with the style of writing and whatever. You know, it's a professional piece of work. This, remember that. Someone else is probably going to pick this up and read it. So just be careful of the language that you use. Use professional language, okay? Then there's marks then, that's presentation. There's marks then for effort and achieving deadlines. That's straightforward. There's 10 points there. You need to get, is it 50% or 60%? 50%, I think, to pass this. So you have 10 easy points there, effort and achieving deadlines. Achieving deadlines is straightforward. I mean, if I ask for an update, please send me an update within 48 hours, whatever time I specify. Have your project in on time. That's terribly important, okay? The remarks don't really deduct it, depending on how late it is. So these are easy points that you can pick up. The effort itself, like, that's kind of something that I'll be able to determine when I'm reading the project. You know, it becomes very apparent when you're reading a project what effort has gone into it. I'm not talking about the value of it, you know. Some projects will be excellent, some projects will be good. That's just the nature of things. But the effort could be the same. So someone put in a lot of effort to get a pass, and someone put the same in effort and get, you know, distinction or something like that. The effort is kind of, it's something that I will determine when I'm reading the project. And an initiative. Initiative is kind of straightforward again. It's 10 points there. It's just looking at it thing with different eyes, with fresh eyes. It's how you've gone about your strategy for investigation, your primary sources. If you've come up with a unique kind of thing that I haven't seen before, or something like that, you know. Initiative, again, it becomes quite apparent, and it's a very subjective thing as well. So guys, that's the project in a nutshell. I hope it's probably made a little more sense than it did first time around. Are you okay with, you know, again, I stressed that there'll be slides and all of this sort of stuff anyway, you know. And some of the stuff in the slides, I was reading through them again the other day, and there's stuff in there that you can ignore. When it talks about means end analysis and stuff like that. You know, what I've mentioned to you today is the main content that I'm concerned about, okay? So now what I propose to do is, this is a workshop. So it's not, you guys gonna have to do a little bit of work now. So, who wants to kick off? Anyone have got any questions or anyone need assistance? We're all here as a team this morning, to help each other. And as I said, when you're doing your questionnaire, your survey or whatever, you've got a ready-made audience here of 5 or 6 people, including Declan and myself. So use that facility. So okay, I'll kick it off then. Beverly, yeah.
I knew you were going to pick me first.
You're monitoring the financial credit risk analysis of biotech companies that you're dealing with in the US of A, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday, and something before I forget it came into my mind. There's a thing called a pest analysis.
Yes.
PEST. You got it, yeah?
Yep.
You know about that? Okay, that's fine. I thought about it and I said, God, I must mention that to Beverly, yeah. So I think it's from what I can recall, is political, economic, social, and technological. Would that be it?
Yeah.
Analysis. Okay, so that's something that you can do, and that'll be very interesting to read. Is there anything in there as well? I was thinking as well, with these companies that you're dealing with, you want to have a robust legal agreement with them. That was something I just.
Yeah, no, with us being the pharmaceutical industry, it is very tight in every form there means. We do have our in-house legal team
Right.
across the world, so it is very robust. We call it a master service agreement. So for your payment terms and all of that, that's all agreed as soon as we do start to monitor that client as such, or take on that client. What the couple of areas that I'm possibly stuck with are my opposition, because it being the pharmaceutical industry, you really don't know very much about your opposition because it's all very competitive.
Right.
That's one that I'm hitting, and the other one is privately owned biotech companies. It's trying to find out that information on them.
Right. Yeah, there was something I was thinking of as well. It was okay. I just examine or look at past failures. Is there a common kind of a trend there? Or is there something that you could spot in terms of when did the problem arise? Is there a kind of a time issue here? You know, when they ran out of cash. Do you get? Could you ask these companies for management accounts? So you're probably, because I'm sure what you're looking at is historical information. So what you need is something a little bit more kind of recent.
So what we find is, so with it being a biotech company, so for the rest of you that maybe don't understand what biotech company is, it's we do clinical trials on for biotech companies. Biotech companies are small companies that are invested by venture capital people in, well, all over the world. So it's venture capital are pumping into the money into these biotech companies to make a clinical trial drug that they hope will be successful and gets through the FDA, which is the Federation of Drug, can't think what they use for at the minute. So that gets approved. So that means that that drug can go and you and I use it. So that when that clinical trial goes through the various stages and people test it out wherever, all over the world, what actually happens is they hope that these big massive companies like you all know of the Pfizer and the Moderna because of COVID. So they're hoping that these big multinational pharmaceutical companies, which we would call a blue chip company, will buy it. And they'll be buying it for, it's not millions of pounds, it's billions of pounds. And making a hit of it. And if you watch, like at the present moment in time, the election in America is very much curtailing that pharmaceutical industry because they want to cap drug prices. And the pharmaceutical industries are fighting And the Democrats is doing one thing and the Republicans is doing another thing. So that's what's throwing the election out there at the minute.
Yeah.
So we have all that in the process. But what we find is with the biotech companies, they'll just keep paying. And then all of a sudden stop. And they've stopped because there's no more funding. So they're reaching out to find out where they can get funding. But the problem being is that venture capital going to put any more money in? Is the drug doing as well as what they thought? Some put it on the stock exchange, and open it up. And then some you just don't know a thing about. And it's trying to find what that don't know a thing about. You can't ask a client in the middle of a clinical trial, how's your finances? Because you know as well as I know what they're going to tell you. And for you, like your Dun and Bradstreet and your credit safe reports is past history. So we're trying to watch what's going on at this one present moment in time. So you monitor how they're paying, how quickly they're paying, why are they withholding, and trying to engage, for me as a credit controller, trying to engage with that client, you build a rapport that you can have that conversation with them when things are starting to go difficult, that you arrange a meeting and have that discussion, that where's things going, you're being delayed in your payments, can we work with you? And because of it being the pharmaceutical industry, ethically, the company that I work for would not put a study on hold because some patient somewhere around the world is relying on that drug getting there. And that drug could be a placebo, which is a fake drug, or it could be the real thing. And it can have, and that's how they find out about it. So those main things that I'm being hit with is, for us, we are monitoring it, and it's how to best monitor it and how we can get information more quickly. But the ones that I'm struggling with is how my opposition are monitoring it, because I can't find that out. And two, was for the companies that are privately owned that don't share that information on their stock exchange or wherever. That's the two barriers I'm hitting at the minute. That would be my two main barriers.
Yeah, there are no credit bureaus in America that you can tap into.
I'm trying to find out more. So I'm still doing some research there to see how I can find. I have found one that is done through a sales portal. So it's the sales team use it that the credit control department never gave out. So I've spoke to my management and said, look, I think this is something we need to look at possibly. I've had a wee glance at one of my business development managers, and he sort of showed me it. I would like to see it a wee bit further. So it's trying to get access to that to see if this would sit up best and how to sit it best.
Yeah, again, I think we mentioned before. Yeah, before. And again, it's a kind of a timely conversation. The credit awards are coming up very shortly, and I know Declan would obviously know more about this than me, but there are companies there that do a lot of credit insurance and stuff like that. There might be something there. I mean, with credit insurance, they obviously do some sort of a risk analysis and stuff like that, before they would give you insurance, obviously. But there might be something there you can tap into. I'm not sure, Beverly.
Actually, just that I'm thinking about it as well. And it's too late to get the plug in. I think anybody in this room is going to the awards anyway. We'll give out to you about that afterwards. We won't say a word to you now while you're studying, but maybe next year. On the morning of the awards, in Dún Laoghaire, I have a couple of people coming over from the UK. A guy called Simon Marshall, a company called Copilot, and he is running a high-level essence of credit risk event in the hotel from 10:30 to 12 or something in the morning, where they're looking at scoring models and using raw data to develop your own scorecards and all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty high level event for credit, almost credit directors and senior managers. But Beverly, if you think, one, it'd be of interest, two, you take a trip down to Dublin Friday week, I can wangle an invite for you, so there'll be no charge in being in the room with, the top credit professionals in the country.
Right, okay.
Something to think about. Yeah,
Just-
yeah,
And I'm talking to you, I'm talking to everybody, you know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody else thinks
Yeah,
you-
Beverly, do you mind if we move on? We're a little bit
Definitely,
restricted
no,
time.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah, and thanks for that contribution. And again, anything we can do, Declan, myself, and your fellow students, we're all here to support each other and help each other through. I have next Wayne, you there?
Yeah,
Wayne,
how's it going?
your project, correct me if I'm wrong, aiming to reduce high level of rate discrepancies.
Yeah.
Ferry operator, is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, a couple of things that I was thinking about again. Right first time ethos and policy and attitude. And there's a book on that, Declan. Am I right saying that? Right first time, or is it a section that you covered? I'm not sure, Wayne, whether you've done it yourself.
It's section I cover on the credit management module in the diploma. You know, it's a whole section on right first time and admin and getting invoices right, the simple things.
Yeah, again, Wayne, these are just suggestions, you know, you don't
Yeah.
have to take them on board if you feel they're worthwhile. If not, you know, that's fine. Another thing was, I have examined in detail the recurring issues and the errors, okay? So you've plenty of scope there when you do that, of finding out, is it human or is it a system failure, okay? Mostly human, you'll find, actually, at the end of the day. Can you quantify these? You know, if you're issuing credit notes, there's obviously quantitative data there that you can use, okay? I'm sure there is anyway. Hopefully you have access to all of that. The other thing I was thinking about again, and might just taking on board, is it's important training. And again, we talked about a lot of this is human failures. Training is such an important aspect of business in general, okay? Proper induction training. So who's your training, your new employees that are coming in, make sure that they're getting proper training, or if they, you know, training is just, it's not a one-time thing either. It's something you have to invest in on an ongoing basis. Declan will tell you this. So it's something you look at on a regular basis and say, do we need to upgrade our training? Do we need training in specific areas? Stuff like that. Have a look at your training.
Yeah, and in relation to that, Paul, just taking one step further, one thing that I insisted on when I was a credit manager, that any new sales or marketing people who joined the company had to spend half a day in the credit control department.
Yeah.
So, you know, when Paul's talking about training, he's not talking about me flogging training. It's talking about, you know, getting the people to sit in the credit control office for half a day and just to understand that it's not just you being awkward. This is what happens. This is what happens when things go wrong. These are the implications of that. If you do this and that goes wrong, and look at the domino effect that has on the business all the way down from wrong invoices, upset customers, queries, overstated margins. There's a whole litany of things that happen, and by getting new staff from outside the department to sit in the credit control department for half a day and understand what you're doing and the importance of what you're doing and the importance of the impact of what they're doing has on the whole process. And that to me was nearly a turning point in the business when we did that.
And as well as that, and I would even go a little bit further and say that, you know, you go and spend a bit of time with them.
Oh,
100%. On a
100%.
half day or a day out, you know, and see exactly, you know, things from their perspective. Two sides to every story, you know, so you've got to get kind of a balanced, informed view of everything. So there might be stuff that, you know, maybe you can help them with an issue or something like that when they're out on the road or whatever, you know. So yeah, that's terribly important. The other thing, management reporting, is this stuff being reported to management? It's important to know that, and if it is, what kind of support are you getting back from them? Because, you know, a lot of time these guys and the directors of ours, they don't get that information. You know, and if you want their support, and you need their support most of the time, you've got to give them that information. And apart from anything else, at least it's getting that monkey off your back onto their back. And if something comes back at the end of the day, you know, you can obviously, I'm reporting this stuff into you, nothing's being done, whatever, you know, that's just, and it's not just covering your ass, you know, it's kind of, it's a little bit more than that. It's, you know, if you want something done, report it up. The other thing is,
then, guys, when you're dealing with discrepancies and problems and queries and disputes and all that kind of stuff, the most effective tool is a league table with names.
Yeah, yeah. Name and shame.
Absolutely, because as Paul was saying, it's usually human. And not only is it usually human, it's the same couple of geniuses that cause 90% of your problems. And if you can, identify your credit note analysis by reason, by person, and then create a league table of who's the best and who's in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
And then have people, at senior level, who'll bang the drum for you. That's when you're going to start making
Absolutely.
progress. There have to
Absolutely.
be consequences.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's the best way I found.
great. So you've
Right.
loads of information. You should have anyway, depending on what access you have to information there. Quantify these errors. Again, I'm talking about quantitative data. Quantify these errors in terms of, is it, late payments? Is it causing you kind of issues in getting paid on time? Can you quantify that? I'm sure you can. Are you issuing credit notes on a regular basis? Can you quantify them? Are there write-offs? Do you actually write off money at the end of the day because of people making errors? So you should have plenty of information there. Quantitative data, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wayne, is there anything you want to ask or say?
Like, could I refer to figures, like without naming the customers, if you get me to show like the difference between when the investigation started to like what progress has been made?
Yeah.
Can you
Sorry,
like as in like if I extract like an age deck, can I like
Redacted, like,
yeah.
just
can
say,
I
oh
walk
yeah,
off?
Oh, absolutely.
no
Yeah.
trade secrets to be
Yeah,
shared.
absolutely. And it just goes, I mean, going back to the very start, the background of the organization. If the organization wants to stay confidential, that's fine. Just ABC Limited. That's who deals with this or whatever. For reasons that you can't give out factual information. Or the name of the company rather.
Yeah,
Information. Is that okay? Yeah.
perfect.
Are you
Thanks.
okay with everything else there, Wayne? Yeah. As I
Yeah,
say, more notes.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Come back to me at any time, anyone.
perfect. Thanks.
No, you're welcome. Virginie, hi. You with us, yeah?
Yes, thank you. Hi, good
Hi.
morning. So,
Now, yours, the most effective collection techniques in the utilities company.
yeah.
Yeah. You've a big project there.
Yeah, so I have ideas about how I'm going to do, but it's not
Right.
exactly like yet because there's a lot of things and I just need to articulate it together. And there's another thing I wanted to ask you because that's a little bit blurry to me. So it's more about the content. Sorry, the volume. Sorry, how many pages? Like,
Well,
for
it's 6,000 words. So that's
6,000 words. Okay.
6,000 words. That's about roughly 20 pages, A4.
Okay.
Okay,
Because
roughly, yeah, but it's 6,000 words anyway. Now, if you go over or under, I'm more concerned about quality rather than quantity. Okay, so if it's a little under, that's fine. I won't
Plus or
penalise you
minus
for that.
10%, Paul, isn't that the guideline?
okay.
Which,
Plus or minus 10%. So
Yeah,
if it's 6,000 words, if it's
yeah,
5,500 or
yeah, exactly, yeah,
6,000, but
yeah.
in
It has to be.
that
It won't be
guideline.
less than 5,000 anyway. Definitely
Yeah.
not. Okay,
Yeah.
so if it goes over, that's fine. If you run into an issue, a problem, let me know. I can help you.
And,
Okay.
and Virginie,
from my side-
just a quick
oh, sorry.
question. Did you have you looked at AI and conversational AI?
I better come to that.
I
I have it down here in my notes. A couple of my thoughts on the subject. Okay.
Yeah.
Discuss the various collection techniques. That's a given. Okay. What kind of techniques do you use? Is it letters? Is it phone calls? Is it
text.
emails? Is it a combination of everything? So discuss
It's a
all of
combination
those.
of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You can survey credit controllers, colleagues, or fellow students, as we have here today. Ask them what you could put a questionnaire together. What do you use? What type of tick the boxes here? Is it telephone? Is it all of these? How successful do you find telephone calls? That kind of thing. Okay. So you've loads of scope there for a survey, for a proper survey. The other thing is then, and Declan just mentioned, look at AI.
AI.
There's a huge amount of stuff now on artificial intelligence and all areas and aspects of business, in particular credit control. So go online and research it yourself, okay, and find out artificial intelligence, AI, what's it
What do you
doing.
mean for?
And other automated systems. There are other systems there that are automated. You can buy these packages that will do all your credit work, control work for you. I don't know the names of any of them offhand, but I'm sure there's.
Well, and I would, and actually there's a guy I'm talking to in Holland at the moment,
Sorry.
a company called Mega AI, and he sent me over samples of robots talking to people.
There you go.
Not only talking to people, listening to them, understanding them, putting forward alternatives and negotiating payment plans with them. And this is all AI.
There you go. Yeah.
And particularly in the utilities, I think this will have an application in, high volume, low value debt. And to be honest with you, people who are in financial difficulties, and if, the utility companies, particularly in telecoms, because, you pay everything first. Your phone is your lifeline. So that's the last thing you'll stop paying. So if people are at that stage where they are having trouble, then they're having troubles. And I'm finding the society we have now would nearly prefer to talk to a robot to take the emotion out of it.
Yeah. Good point, Declan. Yeah.
And the robot tells them, I'm Andy, I'm a automated robot, and I'm here to solve the issue with you today. So you're not sort of trying to pretend you're a person. And the robot will say, look, if it gets complex, they'll say, look, I can put you through to an agent now to discuss your particular issue. And I'm blown away by it. And in terms of volume, like it can do 1,000 calls a minute, in terms of volumes. And it records everything, and it can report on everything, and it can agree payment plans and dates and all that sort of stuff. And because it's AI, it'll follow up on the dates. And it's something that, and as I say, if you want now, I've been talking to a guy there. If you want an introduction to him, for example, I can put you in touch with him and have a chat and see what's available in the collections area, and it might just blow people's minds away.
Great stuff. Yeah, that's great. So there you go, Virginie.
Can I just ask you a question, please?
Yeah.
Just one more, because I'm a little bit like, I don't want to kind of wander off, just add just put too much questions. So just wanted to ask you, there's 2 sections that I wanted to add, so sort of that I kind of see like as a bit compulsory. I just wanted to kind of see if that, like, I could put a big chunk about compliance and like customers' rights, like the consumers' rights, and basically, and then the other part about competition, just to have just to adopt the best techniques. Like, what do you think about that? Or would that be relevant? Would that be like too much, especially for like the competition that I'm thinking it might be too, like, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. It depends on how much compliance. Certainly, that would be of interest. I think that would that would be part of the project. That would be quite relevant. All right. The second issue was Virginie. Sorry.
The competition, and like sort of have an idea what they do. Sort of. Do you think?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that'd be relevant. Yeah. Go with that. Yeah. No, not.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Not 3,000 words now,
That's what I'm afraid. Okay, thank you very much.
And I've actually come across a couple of articles in the Credit Management Journal that would be relevant to your project. So I'll send them, I'll scan them and send them out. I'll send them out to everyone. There could be. There was one particular one there recently, and I'll send it to everyone. And it was about payment performances, and it had Ireland included in it, even though this is a UK magazine. I had Ireland in it, and it's not good news for Ireland, by the way. So I'll send that out, and I had it, as far as I can remember, I had it even by county, you know, what the performance rates were like, you know, people paying and whatever, you know. So I'll send that out. There was good information in that, yeah. You get that with the next lot of notes on Monday. I've got to move on, okay, because we're running short of
Thank you.
time here.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Virginie. Catherine, you there, yeah?
Yeah.
Catherine, acquisition, how to mitigate.
Yeah, I've kind of changed that around. So what I'm going to call it is the consolidation of ledgers, procedures and policies and risk after an acquisition.
Okay.
Because it makes more sense. So I'm pretty good, to be fair. I have completed a 20 sample survey already.
All right, okay.
And I have 3 interviews lined up as well over the next few weeks. So
Okay.
from terms of gathering information and data and stuff, I'm pretty good. To be fair, I don't have a problem at the moment. I suppose it's because the company that that I work for, we've done acquisitions, 4 acquisitions in the last 4 years. Now they've all been relatively small. This is the biggest one with the biggest turnover. 8 million was added to the ledger on the 1st of January this year. Do you know? So there was a lot more involved in it. And there's also, I suppose, the reason for doing this is there's obviously stuff that needs work done. We're 10 months in, do you know what I mean? So it's a finding mission as well in terms of
Yeah, okay.
So,
I scribbled down a few notes here, okay?
Yeah.
By the way, I was involved in a similar situation way back, and it didn't end too well. And I actually knew at the time, and this is something I have written down, are the 2 businesses compatible? And that was the main issue with the company that I was involved in. They had a blue chip company and, if you like, a yellow pack company. So one was at the high end of the market, charging high rates, and the other company was at the other end of the market, low values and low tariffs and stuff like that. So, and the service was reflected in each company. So they tried to do is match the 2 of them together, and it didn't work. So I won't go into it. So that's just what I'm asking now. The 2 businesses compatible? If not, what are the risks? There must be risks. How can you mitigate those risks if there are risks there? Is there politics involved? That was another big issue.
What do you mean if?
That was a huge issue. In you know, who gets the top job and this sort of stuff, like, you know, and when you're kind of consolidating a couple of departments together, you know, there's going to be fallout. Yeah, so you know, that's where the politics come in, and it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing, depending which end of you're on yourself. Will you need a new policy, credit policy? Probably. You know, so something you might think of. Are there timelines involved? You know, that can put pressure on, you know, you have to have certain things of the project completed by certain dates, whatever, you know. If you don't reach those dates, what's the fallout, basically, stuff like that. And review as you're going along. Review.
Yeah.
So that's the things I had. You might get something out of that, Catherine, okay?
And just to touch on Declan and his awards on the 15th of November, Declan has shortlisted us for an award based on this whole thing. So there you go.
Well, great. So, and you're there yourself, are you?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, great, great.
It's going to be great. It's really going to be.
Yeah. Well, the best of luck, Captain. I hope you do well. Yeah. And,
Thanks very much.
Congratulations.
Another feather in your cap. Great stuff. Aidan, you there, Aidan? Yeah. The need for clarity, collaboration, and clear communication between credit control and shared services in a globally integrated law firm. Okay. Again, I'll just throw out a couple of things that and then, you know, take them for what they're worth, you know, ignore them or whatever. The rationale was very clear. That was one thing, kind of, when I was reading your project brief. The rationale was very clear. And the main questions are contained. You have the questions there that you want to get answers for, to try and get answers for. That was very clear to me as well. Is it possible to quantify the problems or the issues I don't know whether it is or not.
For some of them, yes. For others, possibly no. It'll come down to permission to provide that. A lot of the work that we do is about mergers and acquisitions, pharma, and data protection. So,
Okay.
there's a lot of data protection lawyers involved and IPT lawyers involved. So I would
Right.
probably be told I'm allowed to use probably 5% of what
Okay.
I'd be looking for. But I
Well,
will.
you
I
don't
will
have to
be-
mention names again,
Yeah.
you know, if you want to stay
Yeah.
confidential, that's
Yeah.
perfectly okay. You can make up a fictional kind of name for the companies or whatever else. Like, it's more the data that we're kind of
Yeah.
looking for. So whatever data you can, the importance of clear operating procedures manuals, that's sort of like our credit policy, whatever. I thought it was very important to have something like that we're all, if you like, singing out the same hymn sheet at the end of the day, you know, and communication was a huge thing. You need something there that you can reference back to. Impact, again, this word training kept coming up. It was a common theme when I was reading through all these different kind of projects. Training is such an important issue, such an important element in business today. You know, do you have an effective training system? And it's not just a one-off, it's ongoing training that's required. Something you might look at, something might be part of your project. It might something you might comment on. That's really all. Yeah.
Oh, I have a section on it already.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've nothing else, guys. Aidan, is there anything you want to ask or share or among the group there?
No, like I'm in a fairly decent position, kind of like Catherine there. I was sent over to our shared services centre, so
Yeah.
I've already got a bones of a debrief done from that.
Right.
So it's just basically about extrapolating that out and putting it into the format that's kind of required. But then to also start adding in some of the graphs. Like, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we did was kind of things kind of came anecdotally, and then it was investigate that as opposed to sitting down and having formal interviews and surveys. It was gathering information from each of the different hubs, putting that into a document, going and bringing it over, and then finding out that some of the information we got was different to what we actually found out. So yeah, there'll be a lot of that in the conclusion.
Okay. Well, that's good. You sound as if you have plenty of material there you can work on anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem will be shrinking it down. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I could probably put 60,000 words on this if I had the time. But
yeah, and again, I mentioned this. It's a kind of a trap that you can fall into. That it becomes unmanageable. It becomes too big. You know, pick one aspect of it. There's a thing there. It's in the notes I sent you. It's called a drill down method. So if you have an issue or problem, you can drill down, and it basically means breaking it down into different smaller and smaller component parts to find out what the real issue is. You know, so you have a major problem, you can actually drill down and find something there that's quite.
Oh no, I have some notes about how to focus it to make sure that it's still fairly small and manageable.
Great stuff. Guys, that's all I have. If there's any questions, you know where I am, you know where Declan is. I'll send you notes. Monday I'll send you the next lot of notes, and then about 3 weeks after I'll send you the final lot of notes. Again, I'm here, you know, I'm at your beck and call whenever you need me. If I don't get back to you straight away, give me a day or two, I will get back to you. That's for sure. Okay. And I look forward, and the best luck. Get it out of the way before Christmas. You don't want this thing hanging over your Christmas and, you know, spoiling your Christmas holiday. Get it done.
Unless you want an excuse not to talk to the relations, you know, I have to finish my project and not tell a lie.
Great stuff.
Anyway,
Declan, are you okay? Yeah.
All is great. Listen, enjoy the rest of the weekend, folks. And
same here.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you later.
everybody.
Thanks
a lot.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Thanks.
Bye.